That's Jerry Brown admiring a new hardtop. Jerry runs the parts department, but he makes it his business to find out all he can about servicing cars. Looks like he just got in the special tools and some spare parts for the new models. The service technician heading this way is Bill Condon. Bill just took in a service training session on the new models. Unless I miss my guess, Bill's loaded with information and Jerry is loaded with curiosity and questions. Let's join him and see what we can learn.
Hey, Bill, I just got a good look at that new convertible out back. Tell me, how does that new manual top work?
Here we go again. If you'd rather be a nutbuster than a parts jockey, why don't you ask the boss for a transfer?
Look who's barking. I have to know enough about service to decipher the hand tracks you scribble on the repair order.
Look, if you could read as well as I write, you wouldn't have any trouble filling my service parts orders.
Why don't you two cut the clowning before someone gets the idea you're serious?
Okay, Tech. I gotta admit that Jerry's interest in my job makes him a darn good parts man. Now, what do you want to know about that new manual top?
I'm curious about how they managed to counterbalance all the weight in the top and the top frame. It sure doesn't take much muscle to put it up and down.
They use springs and an over-center linkage arrangement. You explain it, Bill.
Well, when the top is in the fully raised position, the spring pulls the over-center linkage. The pull of the spring helps lift the top until it gets to a point where the over-center link is on dead center. At that point, the top balances by itself. As the top is lowered into its well, the over-center link pulls on the spring and counterbalances the weight of the top and linkage.
It's simple and foolproof. What's more, the linkage and header adjustments are essentially the same as the adjustments for present and past models with a power-operated top. Nothing new to worry about on convertible top adjustments. Does that answer your question, Jerry?
Not quite. How do you get the backlight open? I couldn't see any zipper down the sides.
Just unzip the top edge and pull the backlight down and away from the top. Sort of like pulling off a strip of adhesive tape.
What's the gimmick? What holds the sides closed?
I hear that the inventor got the idea from cockleburrs sticking to his wool hunting socks.
It could be. You know, thousands of tiny burr-like hooks in that closure strip attached to the top grip the short pile strip attached to the backlight.
Then all you have to do to close the backlight is run your thumb up the sides and press the pile strip against the hooked strip. Say, that's pretty tricky.
It sure is, Jerry. And here's a suggestion. Every time you deliver a convertible, make sure the owner understands how to operate and take care of the top and back light. The instructions in the owner's manual are complete, but you can't be sure the owner will read them. What do you have there, Jerry?
They look like plastic rivets. They just came in with these parts for the new models, but I haven't figured out where they go or what they're for.
Well, they're used to attach the door glass to the lift bracket on some Valiant and Dart models, Jerry. Here's how they work. Line up the holes in the glass, gasket, and lift bracket. Push the plastic rivet through from the lift bracket side. Make sure the rivet head is tight against the bracket, and the expandable end of the rivet is all the way through the hole in the glass. Then drive the plastic plug into the rivet to lock the rivet in place. To separate the lift bracket from the glass, just push the plug out of the rivet. Then you can pinch the expandable ends of the rivet together and push it out.
You can reuse the rivet, but don't use anything else or you may crack the glass.
That answers my question on plastic glass rivets. Now, what's this new one-arm regulator all about?
New single-arm regulators are used on Dart and Valiant sedan and wagon models. Matter of fact, there are new door and quarter glass adjustments on all Dart and Valiant models.
I can figure out the model applications from the parts book if you'll explain the changes and adjustments.
Well, let's start with the four-door sedan front door. The single-arm regulator is bolted to the inner panel. The stud on the regulator arm rides in a channel in the lift bracket. There are no regulator or glass leveling adjustments to worry about. Probably the most important adjustment for easy glass operation is fore or aft adjustment of the division channel to make sure the space between the front and rear channels is right for the glass width, not too tight nor too loose.
There's no fore or aft adjustment at the rear run channel.
Tech's right, Jerry. You can move the vent wing down and forward if the glass is tight in the run channels. Move the vent wing assembly up and to the rear to get rid of looseness of the glass in the run channels.
Where are the adjustment points?
The 3 vent attaching screws in the front face of the door must be loosened. The screws at the lower end of the division channel must also be loosened. With the glass fully raised, move the vent wing assembly up or down until the glass is free in the channels, but not loose. Tighten the vent screws. Next, lower the glass and move the lower end of the division channel rearward enough to remove excessive looseness of the glass without producing a bind. Tighten both lower division channel screws. Raise and lower the glass to make sure it operates freely. In some cases, you may have to readjust the lower end of the division channel in or out a bit to get the best alignment of the division channel with the rear channel.
If necessary, you can get some more in or out adjustment at the lower end of the rear channel.
I suppose front door glass is adjusted the same way on Dart and Valiant two-door sedans and wagons, huh?
You suppose right, Jerry. But there is a rear run channel difference you ought to know about. Tell him, Bill.
On two-door sedans, a low-friction insert is added inside of the rear glass run. They use that insert because the glass is larger on a two-door. Might try to tip and dig into the flocking on an ordinary glass run. Looks like you have another question.
I do. What's this star wheel adjustment on this new vent wing assembly?
That star wheel adjusts a brake on the vent wing pivot. It works pretty slick. Just use a narrow blade screwdriver to reach through an opening in the weather seal, just ahead of the vent wing pivot. You can turn the star wheel to adjust vent pivot tension.
That's a good feature. Now, how about sedan rear doors?
Sedan and suburban rear doors also use a single arm regulator. The front glass run is fixed, except for in or out adjustment at its lower end. You adjust the division channel fore or aft to get easy glass operation, about the same as for the sedan front door. However, there is just 1 screw to loosen at the upper end of the division channel and 2 screws at the lower end of the channel. With these screws loosened and the glass raised, shift the division channel until the glass is just free but not loose. Tighten the upper screw and lower the glass. After that, adjust the lower end of the division channel forward to remove excessive looseness and tighten both the fore or aft and in or out adjusting screws. Raise and lower the glass to test operation.
Glass adjustments on four-door sedans sound simple enough. How about sedan rear quarter glass adjustments?
They're not the same as sedan door glass. That's one of the new 2-arm rear quarter glass regulators right there.
One regulator arm stud attaches directly to the glass. A nylon bushing is used to isolate the regulator arm stud from the hole in the front of the glass. A lift bracket, plastic riveted to the rear of the glass, has a channel guide for the rear regulator arm. So much for the glass attachment. The regulator assembly can be adjusted fore or aft. This moves the glass fore or aft to get a good fit between the glass and the front glass run. In addition, the rear of the regulator can be adjusted up or down to even up the space between the top edge of the glass and the window opening. On the Dart two-door sedan quarter window, the lower end of the front glass run should be adjusted in or out so that the entire front run forms a straight line. The lower end of the rear glass run channel can be adjusted both fore or aft and in or out.
The Dart quarter window lowers all the way. Rear quarter glass adjustments are about the same for Valiant and Dart. However, the Valiant glass only lowers about halfway. There are no rear run channel adjustments to worry about. And speaking of halfway, someone better turn the record over, 'cause we're halfway through this session. We're spending a lot of time on glass adjustments because the door and quarter glass setup on Dart and Valiant models is all new this year. Better run through the hardtop changes, Bill.
Okay, Tech. I'll start with this front door glass. The importance of fitting the vent wing to the windshield pillar first hasn't changed. Here's something that is new, though. Just pry off the nameplate from the door inner panel to get at 2 of the adjusting screws. These adjustments near the belt line are for shifting the vent assembly fore or aft and up or down. There's a vent wing tilt adjustment at the lower end of the vent frame, and the lower end of the division channel adjusts in or out and fore or aft.
Be sure and loosen the 2 screws at the front of the vent frame so it can move.
Good point, Tech. The 2-arm regulators attach directly to a nylon bushed hole at the front of the glass. The lift bracket at the rear of the glass is attached to the glass with a plastic rivet.
How about adjustments, Bill?
For a good glass fit in the division channel, shift the regulator forward. You can move the rear of the regulator up or down to level up the glass.
Sounds simple enough, but how about channel adjustments?
The in or out adjustment at the lower end of the division channel is pretty well set when you get the vent wing lined up with the windshield pillar roof rail weather strip. For final adjustment, use the fore or aft adjustment at the lower end of the division channel to remove looseness when the glass is lowered. Adjust the lower end of the rear glass run in or out to align it with the division channel.
Don't forget the belt line adjustment. If the glass binds at the belt line, you can shift the upper end of the rear glass run in or out to center the glass between the cat's whiskers. Better tell Jerry about the new cat's whisker attachment, Bill.
Okay, Tech. The new cat's whisker has attachment tabs instead of spring-type clips. Because of the narrow glass opening at the belt line on these new models, it's easier to remove and install the new strip with tabs. The setup is the same on all Valiant and Dart models.
That narrow glass opening at the belt ought to cut down water leakage past the glass and reduce glass rattles.
That it will, Jerry. Here's an important adjustment you ought to know about. On all hardtops, the roof rail weather strip retainer has elongated attaching holes. The weather strip can be easily moved in or out for the best possible fit and seal along the top edge of door and quarter glass.
That reminds me. Be sure that the glass and the upstop are adjusted so that the glass just curls the outer lip of the weather strip against the inner lip. You ready with another question, Jerry?
Yeah. How about a quick rundown on this Dart hardtop rear quarter glass frame and regulator?
The rear quarter glass setup is similar for Dart hardtops and convertibles and Valiant convertibles.
On these models, the glass is bolted to the lower glass frame. The glass frame for the Dart hardtop has 1 set of guide rollers. The Dart and Valiant glass frame on the convertible has 2 sets of guide rollers.
Now I can tell them apart. What are the adjustment highlights?
Well, move the rear of the regulator up or down to square up the glass and get the leading edge of the quarter glass parallel with the rear edge of the front door glass. The fore or aft and in or out adjustments at the upper end of the front guide channel are very important for lining up the front of the quarter glass with the rear edge of the front door glass. The in or out adjustment at the lower end is for centering the lowered glass in the belt line opening.
The adjustments at the lower end of the pocket-type rear guide channel sort of take care of themselves. Loosen the 2 adjusting screws, lower the glass, and tighten the 2 screws. You know, Bill, maybe we better skip the rest of the body service and let Jerry dig it out of the reference book. All the details are right here.
Hey, don't quit until you explain those new Valiant rear quarter glass parts.
Well, on Valiant hardtops, the glass pivots at the front corner. It is also hinged so that the lower end of the glass can swing inward as it is lowered.
And like I suggested, Jerry, use the reference book to bone up on the adjustments. Pictures like this one will give you all the details, and you'll find additional body information in the book as well. Now, what do you have in that box, Jerry?
Essential special tools, Tech. I'd like to know what they are and why they're essential so I can hand out the right tool when Bill asks for it.
I'm glad to see your motives are pure and your only desire is to serve your wrench-pulling buddies in the service department. Well, now, let me explain the reason for this tool first. A new outer grease retainer is used at the lower end of the cross shaft to keep dirt out and grease in. To make room for the new retainer, the depth of the cross shaft seal counterbore has been increased on Dart, Valiant, Plymouth, and Dodge power gears. That's why you need this adapter to service the cross shaft seals. One end of this adapter positions the inner seal at the right depth. The other end positions the new grease retainer correctly.
Okay, I'll keep it with the steering gear tools.
Keep this special arbor tool with the steering gear tools, too. It keeps the needle bearings in place when servicing the power steering, power train assembly, Jerry. Here's how it works. Hold the arbor tool against the end of the worm shaft. Then, when the jacket tube support is removed, the needle bearings in the support will slide over the end of the arbor.
The tool simply takes the place of the worm shaft and retains the needle bearings in the support so they won't spill out and get lost. Use the same tool to hold the needle bearings in place during reassembly. This makes it easy to assemble the support to the powertrain.
This new flow control orifice adapter is for checking power steering pumps. Put it on our power steering tester in place of the old orifice adapter.
Here are a couple more tool-saving adapters. Did they show you how to use them at the training center, Bill?
They sure did, Tech. These are the adapters that let you use the present upper control arm bushing tools to service the 1963 models. This removing adapter is used with our present upper control arm bushing tool for pulling the 1963 upper rear control arm bushing. This other adapter is for installing the new steel locking ring on the rear upper control arm bushing. I don't expect to need either of those real soon, but you better not misplace them, Jerry.
Never sort to fail. When you don't have a needed tool, that's when you get that unexpected job and need it right now.
Dig into that box, Jerry. There should be a set of new alternator tools. There's one for the grease retainer, one for the bearing, and a special screw press for servicing diode rectifiers. You know, this is the 4th model year for alternators, and alternator service is important business. This tool is for installing the new fiber washer and grease retainer. It not only saves time, it takes the guesswork out of doing this operation right. This end shield bearing, removing, and installing support is machined on both ends so that it can be used to service all alternators produced since 1960.
Here's another instance where a couple of additions to present tools handle past and present models.
This new screw-type diode rectifier press is faster and easier to use than an arbor press. It's supplied with adapters to handle the removal and installation of diode rectifiers for all past and present model alternators.
Are these all of the essential tools?
That they are, Jerry. Most of the mechanical changes for the models come under the heading of refinements. Don't need any new tools to handle them. See how many of the other changes you can touch on before we run out of time, Bill.
Okay, hang on to your hat, Jerry. The new power brake boosters can be easily disassembled and serviced. No special tools are required. In 1963, servo contact brakes will be used on all models. Self-adjusters are standard on everything except Dart and Valiant. All Imperial models will have a parking brake automatic release. It releases the parking brake when the transmission is shifted out of neutral with the engine running. All models will have the closed crankcase ventilation system.
It's important to service the vent system regularly. It's also important to know that the carburetors have been recalibrated to match the vent system. Don't mix past and present carburetors or parts.
The carburetor for the 170 cubic inch 6-cylinder engine has a new spring-staged choke. It'll speed up cold weather starting. The service details are covered in the reference book.
Matter of fact, Jerry, there's a lot more information in the reference book that'll help you and all service technicians get acquainted with the fine points of servicing the new models the easy way. I want to mention just one of these before we sign off. The internal oil passages in the 318 engine have been redesigned. Use a full flow oil filter only on these engines. Equally important, don't install a full flow filter on past model 318 engines. And last but not least, give the new models the best that's in you. Call it what you like, the master touch, the extra pinch. Let's get these new models off to a flying start. Good service is mighty important to sales, you know.